Tonight is February 2nd, 2026. We currently have 6 board members present, and we have a quorum. Fort Smith Public Schools school board meetings are open to the public. However, audience members are not permitted to speak or interrupt the meeting in any way, and anyone choosing to disrupt the meeting will be asked to leave immediately. Next item on the agenda is reading of the mission and vision statement. First up, our mission statement. Equip all students with the skills to be productive members of society. And our vision statement, we are a destination district built on relationships, collaboration, and a culture of excellence. At this time, will you please stand and join me for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is recognitions. Ms. Mundell, please introduce our recognitions for tonight.
Good evening, Board. Kimberly Mundell, Executive Director of Communications and Engagement. And we're a little bit behind in the sense that it's February, but January was School Board Appreciation Month. And we just wanted to say, have a special thank you for all of you for what you do for us. So we have a couple of little surprises for y'all. First up to join us with a celebration is Fairview Elementary School Choir. And they recently were invited back in December to perform at the state capitol. So they are here tonight to sing a couple special songs for y'all.
Thank y'all. That was great.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Thank you to Mr. Reed and Ms. Griggs and all the amazing students with the Fairview Elementary Choir. And thank you, parents, for letting your children come be a part of this tonight. Finally, we have one final surprise for all of you, a special video, and I think some of you will recognize a few people in that. So.
On behalf of the Fort Smith Adult Education Center, we want to send our appreciation to the Fort Smith Board of Education. Thank you for your leadership, thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do for our students, our staff, and our community. And we say, thank you!
Thank you, school board.
Hey guys, this is Todd Weinsberg, the principal at Morrison Elementary. Just wanted to tell you guys thank you for all that you do for us. We appreciate it, not just for our staff and our building, but what you do for our students most importantly. Thank you guys again, and happy School Board Month.
Appreciation Month from Northside High School. We appreciate all you do.
So much. We really appreciate everything you do for us.
I just want to thank you for taking such an interest and putting an effort into bettering our education and for really caring about what we're learning about and what we're doing. You've done so much for the school board and we love you so much.
Hi Mom, thank you for all you have done just for the school board and all the time you've put into it. We appreciate you.
Thank you, school board. We appreciate you for volunteering your time.
Thank you so much, school board, for all of your dedication and resiliency into making Fort Smith the best school district.
I love my mom. Happy Boy Appreciation Month. I'm just grateful for my grades and stuff.
Thank you, school board.
Hi, on behalf of the students and staff here at Southside High School, we want to express our gratitude and appreciation for all the work that you do to support our students, our schools, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you for helping our school, Dad.
Thank you. We value your work in this district.
We thank you for all that you do in this district.
Hey Dad, thanks for being so awesome, for being on the school board and being so service-oriented to the students and the teachers. You're awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, school board!
Thank you for all you do, for not just me, but for my friends, my family, and friends that feel like family. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Dad, for all that you do on the school board, and I love you. Thank you, Mom, for everything you've been doing this year in the school board. I'm so proud of you, and I love you.
Dalton, it's hard to believe you've served on the school board for 6 years. 6 years, that's a long time. I appreciate all the time you've volunteered. I know you've given hundreds of hours to volunteering in the time that you've served. This is not a paid job, it's a volunteer job, and you are very much appreciated. The thing I'm most proud of that you all have done is the security in all of the schools, so people like me that are staff feel safe, and we can keep all of our students safe. Thank all of you school board members for your time. We appreciate you.
We love the school board. Thank
So on behalf of all of us, we just say thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mundell.
We could get a tissue for Mr. Person up here. I believe I saw a tear in his eye.
All right, next item on the agenda is citizens' participation. We will now open up the meeting for public comment. This is a designated time for community members to address the board on matters before us. Tonight we have 2 speakers who have signed up. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak. We welcome your input and encourage you to speak respectfully, avoiding statements about specific students or district staff members. Board members will listen to the citizens' presentation but will not enter into dialogue with the presenter or respond at the time of presentation. The board may choose to discuss the matter presented at a later meeting but is under no obligation to do so. And we will now hear from those who wish to make public comments. First up is Mr. Edward Schick. Is Mr. Schick here? No? Couldn't make it. Okay. And then our second speaker signed up is Sam Seacard. Mr. Seacard, come to the podium, and you are recognized.
All right, thank you all. I just want to comment very briefly, I'll see if I can keep it much shorter than 3 minutes, about the right-sizing efforts that you all are undertaking. I know tonight and really over the past year, I've been on that committee. It's been a lot of nights, a lot of working on that, and I wanted to just to emphasize that no one likes closing a school. We all know this. But we put a lot of effort into this. It was a broad swath of residents from our community. And the thing that we need to focus on and remember is we're not cutting education. By right-sizing, we're not cutting education. We're cutting facilities overhead. In any business, just like with school, when revenues, enrollment declines, you have to make hard choices. But you don't want to do things that affect the customer. And our customers, your customers, are the students, and that's been the focus of this. I would argue that doing this helps protect education because it helps conserve resources and direct those the most efficient manner and the taxpayer dollars at the most efficient manner. So I know these are hard choices, but I just want to commend you all and the administration for the hard work they've put into this and the committee that I served on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seacard. Okay, the next agenda item is the superintendent's report. Mr. Mahan, the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good to see you. After a long, snowy week, it's good to see everybody back in school. I, too, want to express my appreciation a little bit late for School Board Appreciation Month. I'd like to thank you for your dedicated service, your leadership, your commitment to our schools and our students. Your work requires significant amounts of time, thoughtful decision-making, and certainly a lot of personal sacrifice. Yet the impact is felt every day throughout our classrooms and our community. We're grateful for your willingness to navigate complex challenges and care with integrity while keeping our students at the center of your work. Please know that your efforts are seen, valued, and deeply appreciated. Thank you for all you do for our schools and our students. I also wanted to mention tonight, Dr. Bone will be conducting the right-sizing presentation, and then she's going to leave. She's got to take a trip to Monticello for some training tomorrow on facilities, so she will leave after the presentation tonight. Just want to make you aware of that. You also just like to pull things from consent agenda. I'd like to announce we are recommending Rusty Bush for the athletic director position. Rusty has an educational leadership specialist degree from Arkansas State University, former head football coach at Alma. He served 13 years as Northside assistant coach. He also has been assistant at El Dorado and Benton. Been director of Boys State for over, or at least 10 years, from 2005 to 15, and we're excited to recommend him as athletic director. And also let you know we continue to look at our org chart and look at moving the director of athletics and activities under the executive director of secondary education, which is Dr. Jones. So those are some moves we'll be making as we move forward. Had a very good, talented group of individuals apply, so it was a very difficult decision, but just want to pull that from consent agenda tonight. Board professional development hours, just congratulations to all of you. Leslie has reported that board training hours have been obtained, and you all have earned 89 hours in 2025. That's pretty significant, and everyone is in compliance, so great work to each one of you. Also, after each Meet the Superintendent event, I'd like to kind of give you just a brief summary. We had a board member, a parent, and a future student come to the Kavanaugh Senior Center for the event on January 22nd. Went through the full report of the district year to date and had a good time answering some questions at that event. We have one more that's coming up here shortly. Also want to just make you aware of in the future, as you know, we're bringing repairs and maintenance items to you from our facilities, and we are starting to see some significant impact on our capital improvement budget. So because of things like the roof at Southside and of course the peak drainage systems, we are quickly approaching a need to come to you with some funding issues around bonds as early as 26, 27. So I just want to kind of plant the seed that we'll be bringing that to you probably toward this summer, if not a little bit earlier. But what that would look like is the fact that the last time we had a significant amount invested in our facilities, of course, was with Vision 2023. And before that, it was 2014 that we did some construction bonds. So we'll work with Charles and look at how we might proceed. We have some debt coming offline, so our goal is to replace existing debt, not insure more debt, but free up some funds specific to improvements that are needed across our district. So I just want to kind of bring that to your attention as I move forward. Also, as I mentioned earlier, this week's been snowy and icy, and I want to thank Dr. Jared Cleveland and the Springdale Public Schools. They sent a staff with a couple of big pieces of equipment to help clear some parking lots last Thursday. They were there from most of the day helping our crew. At the same time, I want to point out our facilities and maintenance crew. A lot of them have worked 12-hour days for several days in a row to ensure we could get our facilities back up and running, not just snow and ice, but also repairs of any types of pipes that may have burst and things of that nature. So they are behind the scenes working constantly, but just want to give a shout out to our maintenance and facilities group. Also update on March work session. Plan to bring to you my communications marketing plan, goal 1.1, and also have a work session around communications in March, and we'll be getting that information to you. And my goals update, all the goals, I do want to do a little bit past mid-year review of those in the February board meeting, give you an update on where I am on those goals and where the team is. Also, one of the goals, kind of a preview of next year, is reestablishing community tours. I want to invite our public school parents in our public schools and around this area, private school, charter school, homeschool parents, to join us on a community tour, which includes getting on a bus, having some breakfast at elementary, middle school, high school, viewing Peak Center, but let them see behind the scenes of our schools and invite them to just kind of tour our facilities and see what public schools, Fort Smith specific, has to offer and why we believe we're the best choice. Also, just the proactive informational, we're continuing to assess turf at both high school stadiums and indoor facilities, and feel like within the next year or so, we're going to come up with a plan to replace those. I just want to give you a preview of that. And then that leads me to good things. Good things. Each year, our fifth grade students visit the Capitol in Little Rock while visiting the Museum of Discovery, also in Little Rock. Kavanaugh Elementary received compliment from a museum board member who was impressed with the Kavanaugh students' engagement, their curiosity, and wonderful behavior during their time there. Way to represent Fort Smith Public Schools. Just want to give a shout out to them. Also very proud of the Southside High School freshman quiz bowl team, which had an outstanding showing this past semester, going undefeated, 5-0, and won the Guy Finter Educational Co-op Class 5A and above Quiz Bowl tournament and branch. The Mavericks capped off the championship with a 435-150 win over Van Buren Butterfield, averaging an impressive 351 points across 5 matches. Along the way, they defeated Chaffin, Alma, Darby, Greenwood, and Van Buren. Congratulations to Joanna Gaborni and Elaine Martin, who each earned all tournament honors for their exceptional performances. Very proud of that team. Also, Miss Williams' fourth grade class at Tillis Elementary was proudly presented with the Cop Being Good trophy after an outstanding 9 weeks. The class earned the highest number of Cop Being Good tickets, showing what it looks like to consistently make positive choices, support one another, and lead by example. Keep up the great work. Chaffin Middle School celebrated an outstanding second 9 weeks success. A total of 121 students earned straight A's, and 414 students finished the grading period with no D's or F's. In addition, 78 students earned perfect attendance. An impressive 86% of Chaffin students had no office referrals. Many thanks to the school partners in education for donating movie passes, candy, popcorn, and treats to help make the celebration extra special. Way to go, Cougars. And then finally, the Office of Educational Policy Awards from the University of Arkansas highlight schools in Arkansas based on student growth. in the Atlas exams in mathematics and English language arts. Cavanaugh Elementary, Kimmons Middle School, and Northside earned the Outstanding Education Performance Awards, beating the odds in math recognition. This is a true testament to the hard work, dedication of our students and staff. So this concludes my report. Any questions I might entertain?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mahan.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Board members, as you know, the consent agenda is voted up or down as a whole unless a board member asks to remove an individual item for independent consideration. Board members, are there any sub-items on the consent agenda that you would like to have removed? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
That's first by Mr. Whitaker, second by Mr. Harding. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. That passes unanimously by a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed. We will move right along. The next item on the agenda is to consider the approval of the Carnell and Stradling Elementary attendance zone recommendations. Mr. Mahan.
Dr. Bone, if you'll give us a fine presentation tonight on this proposal. Also, you'll have to look at a video we put on social media recently. They'll kind of give you a summary of the work that's been done on this proposal.
Good evening, Mr. Mahan, President Person and Board. I will be talking to you tonight about asking for a vote for our right-sizing presentation as we did, we brought the information to you back in December. We'll do a brief recap with a video from Mr. Mahan, and then we'll go right into our presentation and call for a vote.
Hello, Fort Smith Public Schools. Just want to spend a little bit of time today discussing right-sizing with you. You may have heard we're looking at continuing the right-sizing process. I know you've probably heard of the right-sizing that happened with Trustee Elementary a couple of years ago, and also Orr Elementary last year, as we have closed those schools, rezoned those students, and utilized Orr Learning Academy for K-12 alternative learning. And we are currently looking at putting Trustee on the market in the near future. But you may say, right-sizing, what is it and why is it necessary? Right-sizing is a thorough and strategic process with a committee that's been working to optimize the use of our school facilities by aligning the capacities of those facilities with our current and projected student enrollment. Currently, our schools are not in line with our enrollment as far as the capacity and the use of those facilities. We have a lot of underutilized space in our district that we're heating, we're air conditioning, and it's just not physically responsible to ignore that. You also would probably say, well, okay, that gives me a little explanation. Well, what's the purpose? The purpose is something that's been defined as we looked at enrollment declines over time. This year, we're down over 500 students from this time last year. We also have seen our population shift. For example, Sutton used to be well over 500. Currently, it's in the 200 range of student population. That's one example. And also, we have multiple school buildings that are just, again, they're just underutilized. So what would be the benefits of doing right-sizing or closing schools in the future? Some of the benefits is increased access to additional resources and collaboration, as well as efficient use of taxpayer dollars. And then savings that we can reinvest to support more students in the future as well. All this came about with a long-range facility committee. It consists of 13 community members, 6 administrative staff, 5 teachers and principals, 1 partnership consultant, 1 long-range consultant. But this has been a process over the last few years to really look at our district and see how we can be better stewards of taxpayer money and better serve our students and our staff. Also, you may wonder, what about human resource? What about our teachers, our counselors, our administrators, our office administrative assistants, nurses, social workers? What happens to them when we start closing buildings? We are committed to keeping our staff. We've invested a lot in our staff, and you all see the same things I do. When you walk into a classroom, you walk into a cafeteria, a facility, you see excellence. We have excellent people. We're not wanting to lose them. So we would rezone them accordingly as they follow the students. They'll follow the population of the students. We've had great success placing our teachers. We have had challenges with singletons that we've worked the system to help make sure we keep them in place around, some of the challenges would be around media specialist, and we have a system in line to try to keep them in place and also let them know that media specialist job, as it opens, we'll get them in place. Of course, administration and counselors, how do we place them? We're not wanting to lose them either, but we'll find solutions to keep them employed in the district in the future as well, if this is something the board approves. So what we have looked at is Stradling
in Carnell as a result of the committee's recommendation. And we have taken the presentation to the board, and the board heard us in May and actually approved bringing the presentation we brought last night that gave some zoning options to rezone Carnell and zoning options to rezone Spradling. And so we took 3 options around Carnell and 3 options around Spradling to the board last night, and also made our recommendation of rezoning both campuses with 1 option, which happened to be option A for both campuses. Option A of rezoning Carnell would put Carnell, split them into Kavanaugh and Beard, and the zone would strictly be divided by Jenny Lind Avenue. Sutton has enough space that all of Spradling in our recommendation A would go directly into Sutton. And if you're sitting on the corner at Spradling, you can look down the road and see Sutton Elementary. They're that close. And that would allow us to repurpose Spradling and Carnell in the future if the board sees fit to approve what we have recommended. Now, we recommended this last night without asking for any action at all. We're asking for action in January. We want to give our board time to continue to hear from you, continue to hear from our constituents, and also have a very good amount of time to consider this change, because it is a big decision that they'll make. But they'll come back in January 26th, prepared to make a decision on the recommendation we have to close Carnell and Spradling at the end of this school year and repurpose those buildings in the future. So I just want to spend a little bit of time just giving you an update on right sizing. Please know you can reach out and ask questions about right sizing to curriculum instruction, our deputy superintendent, or myself. We want to make sure you got the information, you know it. And we've made it a point of topic as we do our listening tours with your colleagues to make sure they're free to ask questions and get more information on what that looks like in this district. Again, I appreciate the great work you do in Fort Smith Public Schools. We have a lot of talent, and it shows up in our students and the great things that we see them do because of you. So thank you all.
Okay, I think Mr. Mahan did a fine job of recapping the presentation that I brought to you back in December. And so we'll go into what our presentation will be tonight and just kind of going back over some of those same things. This is a slide that he presented earlier about what right sizing is. I want to remind you that we've already been through this process once with Trustee and Orr Elementary, and this would be, should you approve, we'd be going through the same process with both Carnell and Spradling. Some of the concerns that have been brought by people in the community are as are on the screen. Some of this the first slide that you see on the screen is basically recapping some of the concerns that were brought to you the last time, that we were moving students out of Carnell Elementary, and you can see the number of students that were actually right-sized out of Carnell this year, that the facilities information was incorrect. Well, actually, there are 5 of 21 classrooms at Carnell that meet the standards for requirement that the state set aside. 16 out of 18 of the Beard classrooms and 17 of the 19. I would like to express appreciation to the board for coming out and taking your time and volunteering to actually tour those buildings and to look at it to make sure you are getting accurate information. Thank you for walking the buildings and seeing that those facilities are all in good shape so that you were able to see with your own eyes the sizes of the classrooms. One of the other things that was brought about is that we would have traffic and transportation concerns. Again, we have a committee that will be looking at that, which includes our police department, police from the city, as well as people from the facilities, the transportation in the city. So we have a committee set to look at transportation patterns as it relates to Sutton and Spradling. Additional concerns that were brought up after we met and toured the buildings were again about the sizes of the classrooms at Carnell and Beard. The information doesn't change, it's just the same. That is one piece of information that the committee looked at, and it was just basically which classrooms meet standards. One of the points that was brought up was that, yeah, but you're grandfathered in. That is absolutely accurate. If we choose not to make any renovations to those buildings or add on to the buildings, we're grandfathered in. But if we were to try to go in and say renovate any of the classrooms or do any upgrades, we are held to the program of requirements by the state, which means that the classrooms have to meet a certain size. That is why that piece of information was brought to the committee. So again, Beard and Kavanaugh have more classrooms that actually meet that program of requirement standard, as you saw when you went around and looked at the classrooms. That was, again, one piece of information that the committee used. Another concern that was brought up was about the special needs students at Carnell. Well, The reason that those students were placed there, most of them, was because there was space in that building, as you saw, many empty classrooms. So we put students there who weren't necessarily zoned there, and the way that that works when we rezone is that the special ed department meets with parents and they look at individual needs and where they can place students. One of the goals of our special education department is to try to get families closer to where their actual home zone is, and this will be one move that would allow them to continue to do that. When we did meet with parents, and we met with parents, and Ms. Hall was definitely there, we met with parents at Carnell, and the parents in question were actually there and able to talk to our Director of Special Education, and she was able to talk to them about what their plan would be going forward, those who were there. One of the other concerns was that saying that we moved students out of Carnell. Well, we moved students out of every elementary school in 2021, which happened to be my first year here. There was a reconfiguration where all 6th grade students were moved to the middle school. If you'll look at the data from 2021, you can see that I pulled several years of data from Carnell's enrollment, and those are all from the exact same date, point in time, our October 1 report that we submit to the state each year. In 2017, there were 271 students there. Well, when we made the shift in 2021 to move the 6th grade classroom off Carnell, it brought them down to 224 students. Again, that shift was made in every building across our district. And you can see the steady decline in enrollment in Carnell, and that populations change around school buildings. Sometimes it's just that the school-age children don't live there anymore. In this case, there's some industrialization that's around Carnell. You could have seen that as we drove on. But the population has definitely shifted, and that explains what happened. It's not any moves that we've made beyond the 6th grade. There's a concern that was brought up that said that we weren't counting classrooms correctly, and again, I'm glad you walked with us so that we could see that. We've got the map and we've shared that with you. The other concern that was brought up was that there was only one restroom at Beard. If you walked Beard, you saw that there were more than one restroom at Beard. There's 3 restrooms on the K2 hallway, and then there's a communal bathroom with multiple stalls for the 3-5 hallway. The maximum capacity of Beard is 472, and the maximum capacity of Carnell is 342. So I just wanted to bring forth some of these concerns that that we've been emailed, that you as a board have been emailed. Should you decide to make this decision tonight, one of the changes that would happen is that where we currently have 2 buildings with over 500, and that was current information as of December 3rd. When I looked today, it looked like Cook had come back up to 500, which would mean that we would actually have an additional building over 500. But should you make that change, the top is where we are now with 17 buildings, and the bottom it would be 15 buildings, and you would have 4 as of today, buildings over 500, and it would change that number down below. So that would be the number of buildings that we have, and why I say 500 is that we are funded on elementary schools having 500 students, so that's why.
Dr. Bowen, can you clarify those numbers? That PowerPoint has shifted for some reason.
Oh, it did, didn't it? Okay, so yeah, I don't know what happened there. So there were basically 2 buildings in the current status with 17 schools. You had 2 buildings with over 500 students. Again, like I said, that was on December's data. Today, you would have added Cook with that to that. So I'm just going to go with what the data was. 2 buildings over 500, 3 between 400 and 499, 5 between 300 and 399, 6 between 200 and 299, and 1 between 100 and 199. The shift in enrollment, should you make this change, would bring us to 15 buildings. So that would put us at 3 buildings with over 500, 3 between 400 and 499, 5 between 300 and 399, and 4 between 200 and 299 with none under 100 or under 200. So that's what the shift would do, and it would get us closer to the maximum capacity of those buildings. And I apologize for that. I don't know what happened to that slide. It was beautiful.
The PowerPoint in your abstract's correct. I'm not sure what's reconfigured the PowerPoint there, but it is correct.
I think
in
the gremlins messed with it in between. So tonight, I'm bringing to you the actual proposal. You'll see the maps in front of you, and I wanted to address one of the concerns that Ms. Hall brought up, and she asked the question about our numbers and our voting, and you guys have had access to that survey. So at this point, I want to say there were 80 people who completed the survey for Carnell. 24 of those were parents. 29 people voted for option A, 37 voted for option C. So you might say, which this is Spradling, which we'll talk about Spradling too, but you might say, why go with option A, which is what you'll ask me a little bit later, and it's because our transportation looked at it and that's the option that they recommended. Either option would work, and we always work with parents to try to do the best thing for them. But I wanted you to realize that 24 parents voted out of that 80. And again, 29 voted for A, 37 for C. In Spradling, there were 149 parents who voted, 149 people, 63 of which were parents, 96 people voted for option A. So it was overwhelming for option A with the Spradling results. So option A would basically be moving all of the students from Spradling, expanding the Sutton zone to encompass all students from Spradling. And that is the option we're recommending for you tonight. You move forward. Option B would have split the students between both Sutton and Morrison. We had already done some right sizing at Morrison. Elementary in Morrison is already closer to their maximum capacity, so we did not choose this option. And not many people chose, only 25 people chose that option in the survey as well. Proposal C would have disrupted more than one campus, and that's why it didn't have, I think it had maybe 6 votes. It didn't have very many votes at all, and it would have, what it would have done would have moved all of the students from Spradling into Sutton, but then it would have taken a portion of the Sutton population and moved them into Sunnymead. So that was the least popular of the options. Again, we are recommending option A, expanding the Sutton zone to encompass all of Spradling. The recommendations for Carnell, as I'll go back to our vote again, was recommendation A, splitting the zone down Jenny Lind Road, where you would have a portion of the students going to Kavanaugh, the majority going to Kavanaugh, and the rest of them going to Beard. Again, option A chosen because of the recommendation from our transportation department. You had 29 votes for A, 37 for C. Option B would have split the zone down 0 Street, with part of the zone going to Kavanaugh Park, going to Beard. Each of these options is a split between Kavanaugh and Beard. It's just a matter of how many students are going to each campus. And proposal C is still the same thing, but you're going to take a portion of Jenny Lind Road and also move it into the Beard zone. That's the only difference. So those are the proposal. Again, we're recommending proposal A for each of these. And should the board decide to vote, the recommendation is that Carnell will close at the end of the 25-26 school year. We recommend that you approve adjusting the Beard and Kavanaugh boundary attendance lines to absorb Carnell. And that would be, the recommendation would be moved to approve Carnell Elementary boundary proposal A as recommended if you choose to do that. And the next one would be Spradling, closing at the end of the 25-26 school year. Moving to approve the Spradling Elementary boundary proposal A as recommended would be your motion, which would put all of Spradling in Sutton. Should you approve this vote, and it says January 26th because that's when we were supposed to meet, but Snowmageddon, then we would come back and meet with all of the parents and staff at these schools that are affected, and then go back to the Long-Range Planning Facilities Committee so that they could then bring back a proposal to you about the possible uses of the buildings. Again, I understand that this is a very emotional decision. It is not, as Mr. Seacard very eloquently said, this is not something that anyone wants to do. We are really, truly looking at fiscal responsibility for the long range of our district, the long range plans of our district. With that, I'll open up for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bone. Questions from the board related to the presentation? We can head right into discussion. If so, I'll start us off. I think this is a continuation of a strategic and thorough process that really began in 2021 with the transition of 6th grade to middle school and 9th grade up to high school that opened up quite a bit of space at our elementaries. And if you combine that with a continuing look at whether we're being effective and efficient stewards of our taxpayer dollars and whether we're providing the maximum programs and support staff that we possibly can for our students, then in my mind, this is the next step in a continuing process for the board to continue to look at this. And we have followed a lot of steps to get here tonight. I don't think anyone can say this agenda item was rushed to the board. we've done a lot to get to this stage. I'm obviously in favor of both of these items as has been presented, but certainly open to board thoughts, questions, and discussions as well. Anybody have any discussion at this point, or do we want to jump into a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Hardy.
Yeah, the only thought is, do we want to discuss going with a recommendation of option A for Carnal or option C? It was what was the difference of vote? 6?
8.
8?
Mm-hmm. There were 8, but it wasn't all parents. We only had 24 parents vote total.
Well, and the difference between the zones was below, was it Phoenix or below 0? Just a neighborhood?
It was, yes, so it was split along zeros. Yeah, the first zone, the one that we recommended, was split along Jenny Lind, not 0.
Okay.
And so the zone that you're referring to, zone C, option C, would split along 0 Street and encapsulate a portion of Jenny Lind and send that extra portion to Beard, which would put more students on the Beard campus.
Okay, and we had talked about, was it about 10 students?
Yes, it wasn't that much. It's not a big deal. Either way, it really isn't that big of a difference. It was just an easier lift for transportation to go down Jenny Lind. But again, we work with parents. So if a parent said, I don't want to go there, I'd rather go here, we work with them to make that happen.
It does seem that either option will work.
Yes, absolutely.
I should have specified earlier, the way I want to take this is one school at a time, starting with Carnell. I think that's going to be cleanest if we take both schools in succession.
I had a question. There was an email that was sent at the end towards about having like I don't know what the term was, but it was about reevaluating or looking over something because of the time that it took to get all this data together. Do you remember seeing that?
I did. Yes, ma'am, I did see the email. That was the email. That's what my slides were about, the concerns that they had, to just address those so that you would know that's what the tour was about too, is trying to address the concern that they had about the number of classrooms. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hall.
Okay, so we're talking about Carnell first, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And just, this is comments and discussions, not questions.
Unless someone wants to put forward a motion. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I just have comments. Okay. If this passes, no matter which proposal it is, it's going to come with some difficulties logistically. I want to make sure that when we do, if this does pass and we're taking away classrooms, that the classrooms that are going to be taken away that are being used for multi-purpose reasons, so OT, PT, SLP, speech therapy, resource, intervention, dyslexia, all of that those, and art and music, that those teachers, those classrooms are not put off somewhere else, that they still are able to have their space, their classroom time, their classroom space, and not put off in a smaller area, kind of discarded, I guess. Mm-hmm. I do understand that there's state regulations around classroom size, depending on what kind of program that you have, or that the teacher has, that we have to follow. So it is going to come with some logistical difficulties, but with time and patience, I think we can get there, but I just want to make sure that all of our teachers, our staff, and that these programs are not pushed aside and that they are taken care of as we move forward.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I wish we'd brought up at that night is about OT and PT. I've been in multiple elementary schools. I've been an elementary principal. And OT is one of those things that they don't, when you see occupational therapists, they're not in a classroom. They're out in the hallway, on the playground. That's how you do those therapies. And so they use those more space for more like an office kind of space for the most part. And there's a lot of push in with those programs. But I agree with you. We absolutely need to work with the principal and their staff to make sure that we are accommodating all of our needs.
Would we be able to get an update afterwards to know like how they feel about where they're at? Because even though, because I've worked in where it's like you're doing it in the hallway and it's not the same. You know, you're trying to figure out bringing your things, trying to get kids to be engaged, and it's very big. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to receive the same benefit if they have a stable location.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. We will absolutely bring you an update. And I think the reason we see them in the hallway and on the playgrounds is because that is more space and they move more freely. That's what they're trying to do. But we will bring you updates, absolutely, after we get those, once we have a decision and we're able to move forward.
Sorry, I do want to say one more thing. Thank you for doing those tours. They helped a lot, being able to see the classrooms, walk the hallways, even talk with the principals. We asked, I'm going to speak for myself, but I was able to ask any question that I wanted. I've had every question that I did ask answered, honestly, with research provided behind it. So thank you for allowing us to do those tours and get all the information that we possibly could need to make this really big decision tonight.
Thank you, and I thank you guys for your time because you gave up a lot of time to tour those buildings that night. But I have to give you a little shout out, Ms. Hall. You attended a lot of those meetings as well, and I know many of the others of you have done a lot of digging into the survey data. So you spent a lot of time on this, and we appreciate that because this is a big decision.
Could you just clarify, just to be completely clear, the areas that are designed as classrooms originally probably will need to be utilized as classrooms, but it doesn't mean those other programs won't get adequate space because a lot of those classrooms were already designed to be classrooms. They've been repurposed, but we want to make sure all of the needs of our students are met with adequate space.
Go ahead.
I agree. I appreciate so much all of the detail and the data and all of the information that we've been given and the questions that we've gotten answers to. I agree that we've got to be fiscally responsible, and that's the hard part of not being emotional about it, but looking at the facts and the data and the fiscal responsibility that comes with that. Very much appreciate Dr. Davis and the conversation that we had about keeping staff and teachers and finding places for them just based on the normal, retention that we have and open positions that don't get posted until we get everybody a spot. And so I feel a lot better about that, knowing that most of our folks will be placed somewhere. I appreciate very much that transportation has their input on this, but that if a student who walks to Carnell, and we've got that 2-mile radius, we're going to figure something out for that student who has to walk. I had emailed you guys that question from a parent wanting to make sure that all of these individual little things that come up, those logistical things that come up, we're going to do what we can do to make sure that these families have the best situation that they can for the new school that they go to. So knowing all of those things and knowing that we're going to work with these families as best we can, I feel much better about going forward with all of this.
Yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate all that.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the Carnell Elementary boundary proposal, either A or C.
Move to approve elementary zone proposal A for Carnell.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
You did. Okay. We've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kraft to approve the Carnell Elementary boundary proposal A as recommended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Whitaker. Further discussion from the board? Seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. And that passes by a vote of 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Okay. At this time, I will now entertain a motion to approve the Spradling Elementary boundary proposal A as recommended.
Motion to approve the Spradling recommendation A.
There's a motion by Ms. Kraft. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lott. Further discussion from the board? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. That passes. And all those opposed, please raise your right hand. And that passes by a vote of 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you, board members, for your attention to this matter. Thank you, Dr. Bone, for your presentation and your work on this, as well as the rest of the district administration. The next item on the agenda is to consider approval of construction GMPs and sale of Bell Point property. Mr. Mahan.
Thank you, Mr. Person. We want to bring approval to you tonight to look at 3 construction projects for your approval and also the sale of Bell Point. I want to probably clarify some of the language around the sale of Bell Point. I would offer up that we would get authorization from you tonight if you so approve to sell at market value. Anything under market value, we certainly would bring back to you for approval. And so just want to clarify that. Don't know if it's written that way, but just want to put that up front. Mr. Schaefer?
Okay. Good evening, School Board, Mr. President, Mr. Mahan. Tonight we got a short presentation for approval of some construction projects and the sale of our Bell Point property. So tonight also I have our construction managers here for some of these projects. If we have some questions, we want to dive in a little bit deeper for each project. So first up, we have the Southside Fine Arts roof replacement. Excuse me. It's a replacement of the existing roof decking discovered during the original roofing project. It was deemed necessary to replace because of the structural integrity. The current GMP for that project is roughly $1.3 million. Next, we have drainage for peak for Phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 are substantially complete. Phase 3, which is illustrated in red, is to install some overflow drains. It was to correct code violations that was discovered off the Invista report. Its current GMP is $679,000. Next, we got the Hill Center demolition. Safety concerns of integrity of the building. After a structural inspection by a structural engineer, the repair exceeds the value of the structure. We recommend to demolish the building. The current GMP for that is $57K. Next, we recommend selling Bell Point. The Division of Public School Academic Facility and Transportation granted approval to move forward with a sale in December of 2025. And the current appraisal, which we had done in July of 2025, was a roughly $1.1 million.
Mr. Schaefer, just so you'll know, Hill Center is on the property of Park Elementary. It's been vacant for several years now, probably over a decade, and it's been used for just storage, but it's really falling in, and it's time. And then the specifics around Bell Point, you see the market value there. Of course, again, we would bring that back if we get offers below that before we would move forward with sale. Otherwise, if approved that market value, we'd move forward with the sale. I expect trustee to be the next one we bring to you by the summer. Is that right?
Yes, I believe August would be, so the division, by law, you have to keep it open to charter schools, and they have first right of refusal for a 2-year period. That 2-year period, I believe, is up in August. So in August, I'll come forth with its current appraisal and look to sell that property also.
And we did a waiver to expedite Bell Point and found that we were so close to the 2-year guideline on trustee, we just wait till August to do that.
Yes, sir. Goodbye. Now, I'll entertain any questions.
Questions from the board?
Did we have anybody interested in either building, trustee or Bell Point? Like charter schools, you know, the folks that we have to give?
So talking with Cooper and Gann, or Gann and Cooper, so there has been some interest, but we have not moved forward with anything until once this is done.
Remind us again what a GMP is.
It is a guaranteed maximum price for these projects. I think they're on the bottom of that slide. It's for the guaranteed maximum price.
So what we're approving is entering into a contract with a guaranteed maximum price of the value that's in bold for each of those. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And I would like to state, if it goes over GMP for some unforeseen reasons, we would bring that back, correct?
Yes, because actually on the South Side Fine Arts, this is an amendment to a current GMP for that project of stuff that was undiscovered or discovered when we did the original roofing project.
So for Bell Point, when we say building sale, we're seeking authority to list it for sale at the appraised value?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did we get insurance money from the Southside Fine Arts?
So, yes, Southside had 2 different pots of money. It had insurance for the 22 hailstorm, and then it also had partnership. We had filed for partnership money a few years ago and was awarded partnership money too. So there's 2 funding sources for that one. Unfortunately, this piece does not qualify for either one of those funding.
Oh, okay.
This particular failure is a result of the age of the facility. Can you talk about the rationale on the support systems failed, and we noticed it in one of our fine arts rooms. So this is based on the age of the facility. It's not an insurance-related incident.
So, yeah, the roof system, so our partnership project was to remove the roof. So you have the roof system, and then underneath that, you have lightweight concrete. And then underneath that, you have your ceiling inside your building. At that part of the building, it had what we called, in the business, we called it a hard pan ceiling or a sheetrock ceiling underneath. And so that lightweight concrete that was underneath the roofing material, it had deteriorated over time, and chunks of it had fallen out of that part. And we had a structural engineer, and he evaluated the area that's in blue and said that needs to be replaced. So we engaged with a designer who is here tonight, and he designed that area to have that lightweight concrete replaced in that area. And then because of that, another new roof will have to be put back.
Okay. Any other questions related to these 4 construction projects? See none. I'll modify this a little bit. I'll entertain a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum prices for Southside Fine Arts re-roof, peak drainage phase 3, the Hill Center demolition, and the listing and sale of the Bell Point property for appraised market value.
Motion to approve?
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Whitaker. Motion from Mr. Harding. Any discussion from the board? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously by a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Next item is to consider accepting the 2024-2025 audit report. Mr. Mahan.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Charles Warren to present this abstract.
Thank you very much. I realized that today being Groundhog's Day, much like Punxsutawney Phil, who emerges and predicts the weather in the future, once a year we hear from our auditors. They emerge from their offices and they present to us an independent audit. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. Specifically, Mark Lux with Shibish and Associates. They've been doing our independent audit for a number of years. For those that are new to the school board, the audit is one that a school district can elect to have done. You can allow legislative audit to come in and do that, but it's on their time frame. By electing to have an independent audit, we have the ability to control the timing, try to be more purposeful in getting it in front of you, and design it more for the specific needs of Fort Smith School District. They've been a long-time auditor. They literally work down the street here on Jenny Lynn, and so we've become very familiar with each other and how we can go about doing things. Just so you'll know, it's a regulatory financial presentation, and so therefore the audit is under a regulatory management system, not necessarily a full, what's considered GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles audit, but that's what the state requires. There are a number of school districts that elect to have an independent audit, and we're especially the larger school districts. And so this is not uncommon for school districts to do that. They're in year 2 of a 3-year RFP or request for proposal cycle, and so that will be coming up again in a couple of years. And so I'll be here also to help you answer questions. Remember, this is an audit report for last fiscal year. You saw a lot of the information on the in the budget meetings as we presented internal financials and those presentations. The audit itself is to predict or at least share with you that there's no material differences in what is being presented to you on a monthly basis than what they would present to a user or a reader. That's their goal. Their goal is not to go in and find specific evidence targeting specific fraud. They will look for that. It's a lot of statistical sampling. but I don't want you to be misled into thinking they're there to find all the things they can. Yes, they are there to ensure that our internal controls are under the control that we have set for them, and they're being followed. That's part of their scope of work. So I've done a lot of talking because I want to make sure that you all understand what this is about. We actually present this audit to the State Board of Education. They review it and approve it as well. And so with that, I'd like to ask Mark Lux to come up here. He's the lead auditor for Shibish and Associates. Don't look at how that's spelled when you're trying to pronounce it. So, Mark, we have a small presentation that just summarizes. We're not going to look at the detail of the entire report, a lot of footnotes that CPA requires, a lot of additional information that we want users to have, but this is just a summary just to recognize the overall financials. Mark, please come to the podium.
Groundhog Lux, you are recognized.
Get what I'm looking at. Okay. Again, this is as of and for the year ended 6/30/2025. Like Charles said, the purpose of our role is to basically opine that the school district's internally generated financial statements are materially correct, substantially correct in all material respects in accordance with the regulatory basis of accounting. That is what the state of Arkansas requires. It is not GAAP, but we are saying that they're on the regulatory basis of accounting, we are issuing an unmodified opinion. Just a brief overview. Now, these are kind of small here. Okay. Total assets of the general fund. They're broken down into three different funds here, or the funds are broken in three different columns. The general fund, that's just your regular foundation, normal operating funds. They totaled assets $15,150,000. Special revenue, that's the federal and state assistance that you receive. Total assets $6,181,000. Other aggregate, capital projects fund, debt service fund, $33,589,000. That will probably always be the largest because of the amount of debt you have to service at any point in time. You got to have those funds on hand. Fund balance. This is looked at pretty. It's broken down in several categories. Again, the general fund, school operation encumbrances. Encumbrances. That basically says that the funds are earmarked or reserved for a specific purpose. So each category: special revenue, general fund, other aggregate, has its encumbered funds, debt service and capital projects. They pretty much speak for themselves. Special revenue, those funds are pretty much restricted. They carry over from one year to the next if they're not expended. And then general operating unassigned, $6.2 million. So really that's basically about it. This last one, this is a reconciliation. This is what Charles was saying, how we start with your internally generated financial reports and get to the audited fund balance. And really the only difference is y'all have inventory, food commodity inventory. And then for general fund purposes, there are a handful of school activity funds that are considered general fund for regulatory basis of accounting, but they're not for your internally generated. So those are the only really adjustments that we either make or do a reclassifying entry. So again, what you get on a monthly basis is substantially correct and accurate. Part of being a yellow book engagement, since you're a governmental entity and that you receive a substantial amount of federal awards, you are subject to a single audit or otherwise uniform guidance. That means we do have to test federal awards programs. They rotate every 3 years on what you have a 2-year look back. So in other words, we can't test the same program year after year after year. The programs that we tested this year are Title I, and one we've never done before, the Supporting Effective Instruction State Grants. That allowed us to test a required percentage, which was 20% of your overall fund received, which was $25 million. So now that the ARPA money and the ESSER funds are pretty much spent, you're back down to where you were several years ago on your federal awards, which was around 25 million. Prior year, it was 50 million. But testing those awards, we focused really hard on getting substantial evidence, test internal controls. Are the programs managed accordingly? And we had no findings. We had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to report. Like Charles said, when this audit gets approved, I will email this to Legislative Audit and Arkansas Department of Ed. They've already sent their email out saying, hey, get your stuff in by March 31st. So that's why we try to get in. We always start field work around Labor Day and just kind of work throughout the following months and try to have everything wrapped up by the end of November. So that pretty much takes care of what I have to say.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Lux or for me at this time?
This is a pretty timely audit. We get these a lot quicker than a lot of companies I deal with.
No, well, this is all we do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do audits. I mean, we don't have a tax season, so.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I always go to the notes on financial statements. Yeah. And the only one that intrigued me was a result of the data breach, loss of records. Do you think that could impact, I'm assuming based on this that it didn't impact any of the findings here, but.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some records that we normally would have used or to conduct our tests that we chose to do. We had alternative means of getting information and so forth. But again, the whole thing with data breaches, it's not a matter of if you're going to have one, it's just when, you know, so.
Any other questions, comments from the board? It's pretty clean.
I do want to add one
Yes,
thing
sir.
that is different from this reconciliation slide from last year, is this year there was more purposefully focus done by the regulatory agencies across the state and looking at our activity funds, specifically differentiating what is considered a fiduciary fund, which is you're just holding it as though you're a bank for a club, and the club has total control of how money is spent, versus an activity fund that may be just simply a fundraising mechanism for a school or for the administration, such as where interest income might be deposited. That one felt like it was reclassed into the general fund, and that's why the general fund has a larger fund, verify that, larger fund balance on the audit report is because some of those activity funds were reclassified to commingle, that's my term, with the general fund. I always like the general fund to be as pure as possible so that because to me that's the thing that we as a school district and you as a school board should be focused in on. And so that is one change that if you compared this slide presentation with the past, and so you'll see this more and more. We have to then, we're now looking at what do we consider a fiduciary activity fund and what might be more of a generic activity fund.
That's good context. And we have a lot of those funds.
Yes, we do.
And I'm thankful y'all at the administrative level are overseeing those. If there are no questions or other comments from the board, I'll entertain a motion to accept the audit report for the year ending June 30th, 2025 as prepared by Shivish and Associates. So moved. Motion from Mr. Whitaker. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Kraft. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you both. For the record, I can't spell Shivish with my eyes closed. P-R-Z-Y-B-Y-S-C. We will now hear a presentation that will provide an overview of the K-10 Atlas interim assessment results. Mr. Mahan.
Dr. Minton, Ms. Gladden, and just preview what they will tell you as well. As when you look at these atlases results, kind of compare our schools to the state average. This assessment is assessing all the standards for the entire school year, regardless of what standards have been covered. It's kind of swinging with a heavy bat, and so a good measure is kind of comparing us with state performance. And so, Dr. Minton, Ms. Gladden.
Good evening, President Person, Mr. Mahan, school board members. This month's academic achievement presentation will spotlight our most recent district-wide student assessment data. The state provides interim assessments that can be administered 2 times a year. These are assessments from Cambian, and that's the same company that designs our summative assessment. We administer these assessments in grades 3 through 10, and the window is around the 1st of November, and the assessments measure the assessed subject areas: English language arts, math, and science. We also administer interim assessments to students in grades K through 2, and the assessment window is the first week in December. And these assessments measure the same areas in K2 as they do in 310, and these are the assessed areas. Assessment occurs throughout the school year in lots of different ways and for lots of different reasons. So why these assessments? Well, these assessments give our students the very best opportunity to practice the way they will play. This assessment will allow students to experience the test with regard to the standards, using the same format, the same technology requirements, and to the extent we can, the same time constraints. So that's one reason. Another reason why we give this assessment is because the questions that are asked on this assessment most accurately align with the rigor of the test students will take at the end of the school year. Additionally, this assessment provides one data point that classroom teachers can use and interventionists to the extent that it's applicable. And that's what I want to say something to you about, this assessment and the results that Ms. Gladden will delve a little deeper into. The interim assessment, this interim assessment number 1, assesses every single standard that students are expected to master by the end of that school year. Even though the interim assessment window that we are provided by the state, we have a little flexibility, but they tell us when we can administer this. We have not even delivered 2 full quarters worth of instruction at that point. So it's a reason to take these results as one data point and to think about the items that students performed well on that you have already delivered instruction on, and then be cognizant of results that you're not satisfied with that may be because you simply have not taught it to mastery yet. One other item about this assessment that I want to point out is that it measures student proficiency only, period. It does not look at growth. And growth now accounts for 2/3 of our school's letter grades. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about the assessment results. When you look at these assessment results, we will share with you what we're doing as a result of what the district is doing at a district level to address all assessment results, including the ones that you have received this evening. Thank you, I'd forgotten. And these are some of the supports that the district is providing, has been providing, and will continue to provide. We've talked with you before about an ongoing analysis of student work to better support our teachers in assessing students at the level of rigor, how hard it's going to be when they take the test at the end of the year. We also have previously shared with you something called a multi-tiered system of support, and if you think about it, that's that triangle that has Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, and it talks about the supports that all students receive in the classroom, Tier 1. The supports that some students additionally receive, like interventions in Tier 2. So it's Tier 1 and Tier 2, and then Tier 3. And that's the smallest part of the pyramid, and those are supports that students receive who have the greatest need, in addition to interventions, in addition to what happens in the general classroom. There were meetings that were conducted with every school team that Ms. Gladden led, and they had a conversation regarding that school's specific pyramid and the supports that that school was going to provide to their students. Additionally, these documents were made available, shared with every single building leader and individuals at the central office level, because not only do we want to be transparent, but we want to share the good work that's going on across the district, and there may be an intervention or an action or a support that someone is providing that you didn't think to provide yet. So an opportunity to learn from each other. There's also supported accountability with follow-up with regard to those supports that we have had conversation about and that are to be occurring out in the schools. School improvement plan meetings, Ms. Gladden or me, maybe it was me, spoke previously about school improvement plan meetings. Well, we don't just roll those out one time a year. We stop mid-year and we have a meeting with every single school team, and we review the progress to date on the actions that they have implemented to address accelerated student achievement and areas for improvement over the first part of the school year, and what may need to be done differently the next part of the school year to ensure that student achievement is indeed accelerated. As far as instructional specialists, we have instructional specialists on each of our campuses, and these instructional specialists engage teachers in coaching cycles 3 to 6 weeks, and that is so that we can ensure that we are providing targeted support based on student data, so that there is an additional layer of collegial support from instructional specialist. We also conduct learning walks, and so many of these things are the responsibility and the good work that's reflected by Ms. Gladden's leadership. So I want to make sure I say that each of these things are very time-consuming and very critical, though, that they occur at each one of our campuses. So we have learning walks to look for trends that may appear across grade levels or across subject areas, so that we can do a better job, so that we can provide more targeted professional development, or we can look at the resources that we've provided teachers and see where we have fallen short and need to do a better job in supporting our teachers and our building leaders. And we also have continued monitoring and support for students who are scoring in the lowest 25%. That data is collected by school, by grade, by teacher, by student name, and progress monitoring occurs approximately every 10 days for each of these students. Now, the way it occurs may be a testlet from Cambian. It could be a classroom assessment that a teacher has pulled from the Cambian data bank. It could be a formative assessment that teachers have made together at a grade level. These are just some of the focused district supports. Ms. Gladden will delve into the actual interim data and will speak to school-based supports.
Good evening. This chart shows the 3rd through 5th grade interim results. And as we look at it, it's important to remember, like Dr. Mitten said, that the Atlas interim assesses standards from the entire school year, even though this was given in November. And at the bottom, you see the district average percentages alongside the states. Scores highlighted in green are at or above the state level. Yellow indicates single-digit scores, and white represents the scores that fall in between. In English language arts, the 4th grade district average is equal to the state average. In 5th grade, the district averages in both English language arts and science are higher than the state average. And in math, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, the district average is above the state average. Now, to be real, in the body of the chart, some grades and subjects are not what any of us are satisfied with or expect them to be at the end of the year. So let me give you some examples of what schools are doing based on progress monitoring to address student needs. At Tillis, students in grades 3 through 5 who scored a level 1 on the Atlas assessment received targeted after-school tutoring focused on their specific learning needs. The Ballman 5th grade students' consistent growth in science is a result of intentional instructional approach that combines engaging resources like gizmos with meaningful classroom discourse. And Howard has rearranged their dismissal procedure to allow students to remain in class from 3 to 3:20, and teachers use that time to reinforce math standards that students did not master the standard or to work on whole group math skills. This chart shows the results for 6th through 10th grade. And remember, it's important to note that the Atlas interim assesses standards from the full school year, even though students only have been taught a portion of these standards for mastery at the time of testing. Overall, the district performance is close to the state average. In English language arts and science, our district met or exceeded the state average in all but one grade level in each. In math, 2 grade levels met or exceeded the state average. Students are being supported at Kimmons by setting individual academic goals, tracking their growth, and building ownership of their learning. They also have work reinforced during bell work time, the very start of the day, aligned to identify literacy skill gaps. Students at Darby are attending after-school tutoring, intervention time during the day, and are receiving school incentives when they show growth. And this chart shows the results of our kindergarten through 2nd grade interim taken in December. The kindergarten through 2nd grade Atlas interim assesses all grade level standards for each grade, and these results directly inform targeted interventions currently at place at schools. In kindergarten through 2nd grade, English language arts, individual reading plans for students scoring a level 1 guide targeted small group instruction intervention time. Students' progress is reviewed every 2 weeks, and plans are updated in the Atlas portal to reflect growth and next steps. As we received the kindergarten through 10th grade interim results, we met with all schools to discuss supports given to teachers and students to accelerate achievement. This slide shows the types of school supports for teachers and students. Our instructional specialists work alongside teachers through coaching and planning to strengthen instruction and keep it aligned to priority standards. Students' progress is checked every 2 weeks using multiple data points and adjusted instruction as needed. Students receive targeted small group support in English language arts and math, with groups changing as students make progress. And teachers and instructional specialists regularly review data and classroom instruction to make sure that supports are working. And I'll leave you with a quote that an assessment is a mirror and a map. It reflects where learning is today and points the way to what comes next. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
I appreciate the presentation, and I think that this is something that we should talk about often, just so we can keep this top of mind. First question is, do you foresee any lapse or dip in scores due to the weather? So we were out of school last week. Same thing happened last year, right? We were out about a week. Do we see any impact to these scores maybe at the end of the school year?
Well, we will take this Atlas assessment again in February, so that's going to be a good indicator for us to see, have we shown growth? That's what we'll be looking for. We'll be comparing November to February, and that way we can see if these days did impact our scores. I mean, impact us like in February so that we can make adjustments.
Okay. My second question is, and this is more of approach or philosophy, I realize there can be stress associated with these tests, both on the students and having to, big test week, and even for teachers wanting the best for their students and to hit that growth factor. What ways can we as a district help ease that stress for students and teachers?
Well, one of the great things that the state has done has put 2/3 of it on growth. That 2/3 of the way we report on schools now is growth. And so we really try to encourage everyone, teachers and students, that we're looking for growth. We just want this score to be better than the next score.
And I think additionally, what we have to do, and we'll begin a very formal process of, and that is looking at all of our assessments, all of the assessments that our students are administered throughout the course of the year. Because I get it. I get that there is legitimacy to, Kelly, we're testing so much. When do you expect us to teach? I understand that, and I think that's valid, and I think we have to look at the assessments that we administer and the purpose for that assessment. One of the assessments that we give that you have seen data on are called our common summative assessments. That's like a quarterly exam, right? And so that exam differs from this. It assesses students' mastery of the standards they received instruction on during that quarter. The challenge with that assessment is making sure that the questions that we pull from the state's data bank are indeed a reflection of the student's mastery. Because if it's not good data, reliable data, at the end of that assessment, it is a waste of time. And so that's what we're looking very critically at.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, so do the students at OR, because they're in a different learning environment, do they not, I just noticed a lot of zeros. Are they not taking the same assessment, or is that something that's done differently for them?
They are. One of the factors that we look at are the very small numbers, the enrollment. And so one proficiency, one student who's proficient really may falsely elevate the outcome. And students who, remember, this is not on growth. It is, you have to be proficient. You have to make a 3. That doesn't mean that students at OR aren't making progress, or that other students in our district aren't growing. We know that as a result of our previous letter grades, that there is accelerated growth on many of our campuses. So we have to bear in mind what this measures and use the information very judiciously.
Ms. Hall.
I have a question. First, I'm really glad that you pointed out that the percentages that they're tested on like everything they're supposed to know for the whole year. So I was looking at those, thinking it was just what they learned up to today, and I said, we are in trouble. So that was much, much better. Okay, my questions. The after-school tutoring that like Tillis and Howard are doing, do you know what percentage of the students are able to attend that have been identified as needing that extra help?
I don't have the exact percentage, but when I talked with, it's very popular, that they have been able to get most of the students that are in level 1 to attend. Now for at Howard, they have rearranged so that all of their kids, that their dismissal time, so that they've rearranged it so that all of their level 1s are attending. It's a whole hour at Tillis, and so there may be some exceptions that not all of them are attending, but I don't have an exact percentage. There's a large number that are.
If that's something that does really well at Howard, if they're rearranging that schedule, that may be something we look at and follow, maybe try to replicate in other schools. I think that's a great idea. Good job, Ms. Flake.
Yes.
Okay, and then my next question, those that are attending these tutoring sessions, is there a way that we can track their progress to see if these sessions and extra help really did help them and show progress down the road?
Each of these schools keep their own data chart on this to document where students are, like where they are, and then the progress they made. And that's something that we are working on to make a system that is district-wide, because right now every school has their own system. So that is one of our goals, is to make something district-wide that would be easier for everyone to see the growth, and so that we can see how they're growing.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see if that helped, how much that helped the students, specifically that group that does attend the after-school tutoring. Yeah.
And I think Tillis is one of the schools that is using our EduClimber system that tracks interventions. So that may be something I can look into pretty quickly, because there are our school that is using that is a way easier way to collect that data. So I'll check on that for you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
And that's one of the reasons why we share what every school is doing with every school. And additionally, I always want to remind us all that our biggest bang for our buck is Tier 1. In the general classroom, what's occurring in 5 hours versus what may be occurring in 20 minutes. It doesn't mean that both aren't important, but I think we have to keep that in perspective as well.
I'm always looking for trends in this kind of data. And the first one that popped out to me was math, 3rd grade. And I think the reason why it looks so skewed is because the state average was 7%. So it's really hard to draw conclusions from that, I think, unless you have ideas. But the other one that really stands out that I would like your feedback on is the K through 2 data. Our district average is below the state average across the board. And so that makes me wonder if there are things we need to do to improve in our pre-K levels, because we are behind the state average across the board at those younger levels that does not appear once those students get to 3rd grade and beyond. What do y'all think?
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And one of the things I will say is it is dependent on when this assessment is given in other school districts also. We will give the assessment so that we can gain information as soon as possible about what our next steps instructionally are. And then others may choose to give it later in the window for different reasons. As far as preschool education, I think we all, as educators, recognize the importance of development in ages 3 through 5, and have been committed to that in our district for years. We have seen a declining enrollment as well as a decrease in funding support from the state.
Another thing to think about with K2 is its technology. Many of the schools, when I talked to them about this data, said, those kids can do that in the classroom. I know they know this. Remember, they're having to really quickly pick, they have to know on their keyboard where the letter A and where the letter C, and they have to be able to do that quickly. And so part of this is we really are looking at our technology skills with our K2 to make sure that that's not something that's holding us back. There's another part where they have to read into a microphone, and we found some issues like they can't hear them. And that's not something, they won't get scored if they can't hear them. So that's something that we're working to make sure that all our kids are practicing this and that we're working on those technology skills as well.
That's all good feedback. You know, one thought I have, just as a general thought, is as we're looking at the use of our district facilities moving forward, if there are ways to reimagine or change how we're utilizing pre-K programs, if the funding is there, that seems like an excellent opportunity for our district. Any other feedback from the board? Okay. It's a presentation item only, no actions required. Thank you both.
You're sure
Thank you.
welcome. One thing I do want to say, I thanked Ms. Gladden for her leadership, but I also always want to give a shout out to our principals and our teachers because they are the ones that make this happen every single day. We just bring you their good work.
Thank you for that. Okay, item 13. The board will now go into executive session to discuss pre-litigation and litigation matters. We'll be back. We have returned from executive session. It is 7:57 p.m. on February 2nd, 2026. The next item on the agenda is board members forum. Board members, we have another busy month. We've got training on February 16th, 2 weeks from today, 5:30 Marshall's Museum, room 1789. Not sure what that is. The regular board meeting for February is the next Monday. So enjoy next Monday. It's your only Monday free for February. Any other items you'd like to request bringing forward at that meeting, or do you have any information you'd like to share? Let's start with Ms. Hall.
I do not. I'm glad the kids are back in school today. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Martinez.
I really enjoyed the choir, and thank you for the video. Is that what we're? Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker.
Big thanks to our communications team and our marketing team for all the thorough explanations of the processes of closing a school during inclement weather. Many appreciative comments on social media. I know that my twin girls were appreciative of being out of school, but that's something that I think has been missing for a little bit, and so I appreciate the attentiveness to that during those moments, and I think it made a world of difference in explaining how we derive to that indecision.
Ms. Kraft.
Not on. Only suggestion, I agree, all of that was awesome. I had suggested to Mr. Mahan, you know, when the city of Fort Smith crews do their plows and they prioritize hospitals, they prioritize nursing homes as they should, maybe we give them our bus routes so that the city of Fort Smith then also maybe knows where they could prioritize after those healthcare facilities so that we could, because I always get so worried about the kids that rely on school for therapy and for breakfast and lunch and a safe, warm place to go that had nowhere to go for 5 days. When, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, we were hoping we could get the roads in decent shape. And so maybe if the city has our bus routes or at least can prioritize elementary school areas, our school areas, that would help us get these kids back to school faster. My niece at Northside does not like this answer or proposal that I've given her. Told her she texted me more last week than she has all year wanting to know if she had to go to school. So glad that's over. And happy Valentine's Day. Happy February. The
Ms.
long year of January is over.
Yes, stop talking, Susan. Ms. Lott.
No, I appreciate all of the information tonight. I know there's always a lot of time put into these by multiple people and all of their underlings that are, you know, doing the heavy work. Mr. Mahan, same thing. I heard a lot of very positive feedback on getting out there and showing people why these decisions are being made. And I think that's what we're moving toward in a lot of ways, trying to over-explain so everyone has a better grasp on what's happening. And I appreciate us moving in that direction as a school board and a district.
Mr. Harding.
Yeah, thank you to all the information tonight and the work that went into addressing the concerns concerning the right sizing. All of that made this meeting more efficient, but especially appreciative that we took every concern seriously and addressed it properly. So thank you to Dr. Bone, who's not here, but the district for doing that.
And Mr. Mahan.
I just want to say, Ms. Kraft, that's a great idea. We've talked to RDOT, the city of Barling, and the city of Fort Smith. There's 3 different entities, and we've provided those bus routes because I think that's a great idea. Because some of those areas where they have less resources to clear roads, just specific to Barling, that whole area was still very well covered, even as late as Friday. So, but I think that's a great plan, and we're on it.
There's nothing further. We're adjourned.